Yuliy looks like a simple, ordinary man, but he is an overpowered werewolf who has hunted vampires for centuries. However, one day he discovers that his brother is a vampire. In the middle of Shanghai, under the careful watch of Kershner, a royal vampire, a secret meeting happens. Regular people, unaware of the hidden danger, mix as Kershner talks to them, his voice showing both control and attraction. In the crowd, women look longingly at certain men, showing their admiration clearly. Meanwhile, Yuliy, carrying his bag with purpose, meets with Professor Willard, leader of the Jaegers. Time pauses for a moment as the professor asks Yuliy if he's ready to leave. Before Yuliy can answer, Dorothea, who drives for the professor, interrupts, urging them to make their next move strong. Yuliy, always serious, suggests a quieter approach. Across town, as Kershner finishes speaking, glasses drop to the ground together, showing a dangerous turn. Faces that were once friendly change with hunger as sharp teeth come out, biting unsuspecting necks. Darkness covers the following bloodbath. Meanwhile, Philip, the young expert among the Jaegers, plays his violin for people passing by. Fallen, an experienced Jaeger with Irish roots, suddenly removes two people, signaling to Philip that it's time. Agatha, another royal vampire, warns Kershner about the approaching danger from the Jaegers, leading to quick action. On the rooftop across from the vampire group, the Jaegers gather, but Yuliy's impatience shows as he smells blood. With quick, firm action, Yuliy jumps through a window, using a vampire as a landing pad. Using his spear, he defeats the vampires with skill. Meanwhile, Dorothea, Fallen, and Philip shoot at the vampires, standing firm next to their impulsive friend. Afterwards, Professor Willard talks about Kershner's sneakiness, and Philip scolds Yuliy for going alone. As they leave Shanghai by boat, the professor warns Yuliy about the dangers of acting without thinking. At the same time, in Japan, the police find a disturbing scene of mutilated bodies, a sign of what's to come. The Jaegers appear in Tokyo, standing out in the busy streets. For Yuliy, it's his first trip to this foreign place. Quickly, they are taken away, arriving just as Major Hideyomi Iba learns about an escaped criminal, Kurikate, who is responsible for the morning's gruesome discoveries. Instead of blaming the Hayako party like they first thought, Mochizuki's conclusion makes the Major angry, leading to a short argument before they leave. Meanwhile, at the Baron's house, the Jaegers gather while Miss Nao Ryoko finishes her practice fight, noticing the unfamiliar guests, especially Yuliy. At the same time, Professor Willard talks with the Baron about Japan's recent troubled nights. Elsewhere, Yuliy wanders away from his friends, attracted by the smell of flowers. In the garden, Miss Ryoko steals glances at him until she gathers the courage to talk to the mysterious werewolf. While talking about flowers, Yuliy reveals something that surprises her. When Yuliy returns to the Baron, he talks about the Hayako party's plans to go against the establishment, and introduces the famous fugitive, Harukate Guakairu. Meanwhile, the Jaegers wonder why Kershner came to Japan. Dorothea's strong belief in their agency's information clashes with Fallen's practical idea that Kershner might just be looking for food. Yuliy's disagreement shows the gap between human and vampire lives. Philip's playful behavior causes some tension, but Fallen stops it with a kind gesture. Professor Willard interrupts their bonding, telling them to rest for the challenges ahead. On another side, Major Iba and his boss plan secretly, with the Major wanting to be more involved in their secret missions, which his boss approves of with a knowing smile. In a dark room, Kurikate, who is far from innocent, is chained up, visited by the sinister Agatha. Even though he says he didn't want to be freed, she enjoys her plans for him. Meanwhile, at the police station, the inspector's angry speech to his team is suddenly stopped by news about V-Shipping's representatives. He welcomes the professor and Dorothea with a smile, giving them the books they need from Home Affairs. Somewhere else, during the night, a patrol officer sees a brutal murder, and he himself is killed by a vampire. At the same time, the professor notices a strange pattern in Kurikate's way of doing things, seeing that he started killing anyone after he escaped, not just men. While they discuss this, news of another murder in Arasaka makes the professor call the Jaegers. They hurry to the crime scene, talking about how Kurikate might have escaped, ignoring stories of people flying around as just fantasies. With suspicion growing, Agatha walks through a dark alley and meets Yuliy, whose sharp senses give her away. She fights with him, but Dorothea helps briefly, though Agatha's helpers come to her aid, taking her away in a car. While his friends chase after them, Yuliy jumps onto the roof of their escaping car, determined to catch them. As they chase each other, Yuliy fights on top of the moving car, dodging bullets before giving a final hit. In all the chaos, Agatha, not giving up, faces Yuliy, surprised by something she sees in his eyes. As Yuliy cuts off Agatha's parts, she falls into the ocean, seeming beaten. But because of her royal background, she doesn't sink like you'd expect, but floats instead. When the Jaegers arrive, the professor scolds Yuliy, telling him to stay with them. Ignoring the warning, Yuliy jumps off the bridge, wanting to defeat Agatha, but sniper Mikhail Jirov quickly stops him, making him fall into the water. 2 days later, Yuliy wakes up to Saki's scared cries. She's the daughter of Dr. Hanada Kisuk, who saved Yuliy from drowning. They can't talk much because the Jaegers arrive unexpectedly. While the Jaegers talk to Yuliy in private, the professor tells him off for acting without thinking. Yuliy says it's because of his wolf instincts, but the professor warns him not to forget their mission together, threatening him if he does it again. Because of the situation, Yuliy stays at Hanada's place, watched by Philip. Meanwhile, there's a fight between police and Mamos Naotora, showing that the Hayako party is around. In the middle of all this, Yuliy wakes up in a strange place, seeing Philip asleep nearby. Saki, with her teddy bear, talks to Yuliy about her family's situation, curious about him being a werewolf. Yuliy's unexpected friendship with Saki surprises him. She's grateful for his friendly acts. Meanwhile, at the police station, officers talk about the Hayako party's bold attack on biologist Abe Yoshio's home. They wonder what it means that Mamos Naotora was involved. Major Iba interrupts, calling the Hayako party terrorists who might have support from other countries, like V shipping. The professor secretly meets someone at a bar and learns about Alma Trading's secret activities, making people think they might be involved in illegal arms trading. Ignoring any connection to Kershner, the professor tries to understand the complicated situation. The next day, Yuliy's quick recovery surprises people, who react differently to the news. Meanwhile, the maid tells the sad story of Hanada's lonely work in medicine, trying to honor his late wife. Yuliy and Saki, both dealing with loss, find comfort in each other. They share their sadness, bringing them closer. While Yuliy talks to Saki about how his mother always supported him, Philip watches with obvious disapproval. In another part of town, Ryoko thinks about her recent argument with her father about Yuliy's safety. She's torn between her duty to her family and her own beliefs. When she finally focuses on her training, she's already lost, showing her inner conflict. As Ryoko starts training again, she makes a deal with her teacher. They'll spar again if he tells her where Yuliy is. She wins easily, making her teacher smile knowingly. Elsewhere, Fallen shares his idea about the Hayako party with Dorothea, and the professor talking about a mysterious message written in blood that says punishment. Even though they don't see how it connects to a biologist, the professor thinks it's connected to vampires and worries about what Kershner might do next. Meanwhile, in a secret place, Kershner scolds Agatha for losing to Yuliy, showing he's not happy with her weakness. Philip tries to get Dr. Hanada to come to dinner, but Hanada is too busy with his work. He talks to his invention in his lab, focused on what he's doing alone. Dorothea finds some foreign newspapers and investigates them secretly, while Fallen tells the professor about finding an artificial heart in Hanada's lab without anyone knowing. The next day, Yuliy talks strangely about tomatoes, annoying Philip. Saki asks Philip how he feels about Yuliy, leading to a sad story about Yuliy's past. Saki listens to Philip play the violin, but their moment is interrupted by Hanada's happy news about finishing his work. But then something bad happens. Agatha kills the maid and hides what she did. Meanwhile, Ryoko tries to find out where Yuliy is staying temporarily, while Dorothea tells the professor what she found out. They realize the Hayako party is targeting important medical researchers. A call from Fallen makes things more complicated, suggesting Dr. Hanada is involved in the vampire's bad plans. The professor and Dorothea figure things out and start moving, but Major Iba stops them, pretending to be a journalist wanting answers. Back at the doctor's house, Saki gets worried when the maid doesn't come back. Philip cooks dinner, but everything goes wrong when the power goes out and vampires attack. In all the chaos, Agatha attacks and kills Dr. Hanada before fighting Yuliy. They fight in the garden just as Ryoko shows up, not knowing what's going on. While Agatha and Yuliy fight, Philip runs away with Saki, but they face Dr. Hanada, who has turned into something else. Yuliy helps them, fighting Agatha while Philip tries to keep Saki safe. At a critical moment, Yuliy sees a chance and defeats Agatha, turning things around against Dr. Hanada, and Saki sees it all happen. While Agatha meets her end feeling sorry for herself, Yuliy keeps going, following the destruction to the lab's roof. There, he finds the people who caused all this trouble, but he's surprised when his own brother, Mikhail, attacks him.